last week, but the week before, we went to San Francisco. We took a team of 15 people, 5 leaders, and 10 kids, 10 high schoolers, and we went down to what's called the Tenderloin District of San Francisco. And it's a pretty rough area. We knew that secondhand up until about a week ago, and then we saw that firsthand. High crime, high poverty, high drug use. In fact, the first day we were there, we kind of recapped, and there were several people that said, "Man, I saw a drug deal going on right behind me." And by the end of the week, we didn't even comment on that anymore. It was just absolutely so commonplace that it wasn't even worth talking about anymore. And, while we were there, we partnered with an organization called City Impact. You might see that on some of our t-shirts, City Impact of San Francisco. And City Impact is a Christian organization that seeks to intervene on behalf of the people in the Tenderloin area and meet their needs. And one of the neatest things to me about this entire trip is we started off on Monday. We got there, we left not last Sunday, the Sunday before. And we got down there and on Monday, and the first thing they did is they got us all in their sanctuary there in one of their buildings, and a guy named Sean kind of preached every single day of the week. He had a little sermon for us, and that first time, he just shared with us, he said, the people of the Tenderloin, they're not where they are because they lack food. They're not where they are because they lack money. He said, there are plenty of government agencies that are giving stuff out right and left. They've tried to throw money at the Tenderloin to fix it, and it's just not working. He said, the reality is these people are in this position because they need Jesus. And so our mission with City Impact is to introduce Jesus Christ into a dark area. And in the meantime, we got to give them some food. And in the meantime, we got to meet some of those practical needs and give them some clothes and give them some food and just some conversation and a friend. But the reality is it's really about they need Jesus Christ. Sean did a great job of just kind of showing us how the typical person in the Tenderloin at some point gets these resources, they get back up on their feet, and what do? They self-destruct. They go right back to the streets. They find themselves right back into drug usage or worse. And a lot of the times, the reason for that is because they don't have a relationship with Jesus. So that was our goal, was to share Jesus. And we did that in a few different ways. City Impact in San Francisco owns several different buildings in the Tenderloin District. And they have a church that they run there, one of the only gospel preaching churches in the area, maybe the only gospel preaching church in the area. A population of around 35,000 in a few block radius. A lot like Lincoln City, right? A little denser. And then they had a thrift store where they had used clothing that they would sell to benefit the area. They do a good job of getting people from the streets who have given their life to Christ and are wanting to get cleaned up, and they bring them in as volunteers and employees and things like that. And we got to help out in the thrift store. We got to help out in what they call TL Revive. That stands for Tenderloin Revive. And that was kind of a community center where they would open up this big garage door and invite people in just straight off the street and give them a hot dog, give them a cup of coffee, and invite them to play a game of Yahtzee or chess, depending on how cerebral they wanted to be. And then just talk to them. Hear their stories. Get to know them. Look for opportunities to share our stories. Look for opportunities to share Jesus with them. And then we did what was called street ministry, where 2 nights we went out and handed out bags of chips and just learned people's names and shook their hands and asked them directly if there was anything we could be praying about, and try to take those opportunities once again to share Jesus with them. We did one day what we called women's ministry. It was kind of a fun thing where we went down the street with just this big bouquet of flowers, and we just gave flowers to women and asked if we could pray for them. And it was neat to see some of their reactions there, and some jealous guys. It was interesting to see how many guys wanted a flower. We did what was called meal delivery, and on that day we just took boxes. The guys carried these boxes of these prepackaged meals, and we would go into one of the high rises, go up to the 7th story, and just knock on every single door and ask them if we could give them a meal. We did a lot. It was a busy week, and I'm going to let these kids describe a little bit more of what we did and some of the stories that made an impact on them.
Hannah, and I'm one of the kids that went on the trip, and one of the experiences I really loved was I met this guy that had an ear disorder as we were handing out chips on the street ministry, and I really enjoyed talking to him and knowing about him more and seeing that he was out there exploring the world and not because of something he did, and I just thought it was amazing how it reminded me how each person has a story and they're all out there because of something, and I just thought it was interesting and cool just how sweet and happy he was no matter what he was going through, and I just thought it was amazing for what he was going through and how strong and happy he was.
Hi, Hi, I'm Naomi. So I remember like Monday and Tuesday, I was really struggling with like walking around and seeing all the evil in the town and like the brokenness. Really, it was really hard for me. And I had prayed a lot, like every day, multiple times. And then I met a lady on Wednesday in TL Revive, which we talked about a little bit. Her name was May, and she had a lot of just terrible things. She had a really unfortunate situation. She was homeless because she couldn't afford it, and she had cataracts, and she was disabled, and she wasn't getting disability, and there was just a lot. There was so much, and I just remember her positive outlook. At least I have 2 bags of food with me. I mean, at least I'm still living, I'm still walking, and just like anytime we'd be like, I'm so sorry, she'd just tell us like, it's okay, and it was just so great to see like Jesus working through the people for the first time, and a lot more after that too.
So we all spent a lot of time together on the drive down there and back, because it was a long drive. And we really got to know each other and spent a lot of time together. And we sang a lot of worship songs on the way down. That was really cool. We had some good conversations with each other before we went to bed at night. So there was a little bit of time for that then. And when we were staying at Becky's parents' house, her parents are really nice, by the way. So we all kind of get along and like each other.
Hey, I'm Matthew. And so there was a lot of really cool conversations that were going on with people in the City Impact, other volunteers, all of our people. And I didn't feel like I was too, had any cool story-worthy conversations, but I had one that I think is good, so I'll talk about that. So I was sitting in the rescue mission, and it was a weird setup. Normally the rescue mission was pretty standard. It was, worship service, sermon, meal time, that kind of thing. But this time it was set up almost like TL Revival. It was like a coffee shop kind of hangout place. People just came in and got meals and they hung out and we talked to them. And this lady sat next to me, and I don't know what her name was. Maybe I did at one point, but I don't. And when she was talking, she was being pretty normal. As I started talking to her more, she was broken. She didn't know the Lord, so of course she was broken. But her kids, she had 5 kids. She was a single mother of 5. And all 5 of her kids grew up in the Tenderloin area, and they were all moved on. And one of them was actually working for Google now, pretty high up in the executive board. And she was just so excited that she didn't even notice. You could tell it was pretty apparent that she didn't really care how bad her situation was. And she just kept talking about how awesome it was that her kids made it out. And I just thought it was really crazy. I thought it really shows a good example of God's love for his children.
Hi, I'm Becky. I'm one of the leaders, and I've been helping out with fire for 4 or 5 years now. And I come every Sunday night and hang out with the kids. We play games. We talk about Jesus. But one of the coolest things I saw when I was down there was watching all of these kids who, most of them I've had for a few years. I've hung around with, just acting out their faith in a real way. Being challenged, going out on the street, praying for people, talking to people, and some of them were kind of scary. I know Faith got yelled at one time, but she still, that was the first day she got yelled at, and she was all over the street praying for everybody, and just watching all of the kids just let God work through them and reach out to all of those people out there that really needed to see God's love. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I want to tell you guys. Every time I do this, I learn I'm louder than everyone. I want to tell you guys just a quick story. I didn't even share this first service, but it just impressed me so much. The first day there, we arrive on Monday, right afternoon, and we, pull up on these city streets. I don't know where to put the van. I'm super stressed out. If you've seen me in those kind of modes, I get crazy and cranky and irritable and don't talk around me. And I'm telling the kids, lock the doors, stop talking. And I'm trying to figure out where to put the van. And walk in a single file line, eyes up, don't look at anybody. We get into the church and we hear Sean share kind of the heart of the ministry and how it's about Jesus. And then right after that, it's probably about, we had dinner, and then it's probably about 7 in the evening or so. And they put us out on the street for the first time with one of the people from City Impact. And we went for a prayer walk, and we just kind of walked the blocks of the Tenderloin area and stopped at various buildings and prayed. For example, right now,